So welcome to today's episode of Seen and Solved, where we're going to be celebrating the 175th anniversary of Hubbard-Hall. I'm your host, Tim Pennington. I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Molly Kellogg, President, CEO, and Chairman. As the sixth generation of family leadership, Molly represents the legacy and future of Hubbard-Hall. With a background in comparative literature, her journey to leading a chemical manufacturing company is quite unique. We'll explore her path and the blend of tradition, innovation, and the passion she brings to her role. Join us as we uncover the rich history of Hubbard-Hall, discuss what lies ahead, and understand the core of why the company exists, the people. So let's welcome Molly Kellogg.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
Molly, welcome. According to my math, 175 years would have been 1849. Is that correct? Is that about right?
That's correct. We started as a little apothecary in downtown Waterbury, Connecticut. And so we sold everything from paints to fertilizers to headache powders and included a soda fountain. So yeah, it's been over a century and a half of building the business.
From what you just mentioned as you started out to what you're doing now, it's certainly the company has evolved over that time period. Take us through some key moments that kind of formulated that you all would become, a chemical manufacturer, an innovator that you are. Talk us through some of those points.
Yeah, Tim, there's not one great event, but I think what Hubbard-Hall's journey is, it reflects the American economic journey. If you think back to 1849, when Connecticut and most of the U.S. was largely an agrarian economy, and that's what we did. And we did it relatively well so that we could build a business. And as the economy changed into a more industrial economy, so take the turn of the century and into World War I, Waterbury, Connecticut became the brass capital of the world. So we morphed out of agriculture into industrial chemicals, and then have really been growing that since. And from helping customers make buttons, today we're helping customers put satellites up in the air. So we've evolved.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was going to say it has been sort of a transformation. 175 years celebrating that, the longevity. I know a lot of businesses don't last 3 generations or 4 generations or things like that. So what does, being a 175-year-old company, what does that mean overall to the company, to its customers, and especially to you?
Well, I hope what it means is it's a number for us. It's something I'm extremely proud of and want to hope that the business goes on for another 175 years. What I hope it means to the people who work here, to our customers, is that we are always going to make the best decisions we can for the long term. And we're going to do that for our customers. We're going to do that for our communities. We're here to stay. And I think that brings along with it an added responsibility to leave our customers, help our employees be better for having worked at Hubbard-Hall. Our customers, we've got to help them survive and thrive. So I take it's a great thing to celebrate, but I also feel like it's a responsibility and one that I'm proud to continue. As you said, I was a comparative literature. I mean, no one hires an English major to run a chemical company except that English major's father, who hired me when nobody else would. And I've still never taken a chemistry course, which I probably shouldn't admit on air, but I've learned business and the complexity of the business, love the business, love to see our customers making things and how we help them make things. But again, a legacy of 175 years, 6 generations of my family, multiple generations of other families within Hubbard-Hall, and I think we've got a responsibility to keep building and giving back, to use this as a platform for something good.
It's funny you mentioned not knowing much chemistry with that, but you've hired the right people that know chemistry.
Yeah,
and that's the big point, right?
Right.
That's the key. That's the key to success. Since you've become the top leader there at Hubbard-Hall, you've introduced a lot of initiatives, like you said, sustainability and how you're going to deal with customers and how you're going to deal with the environment, those type of things. What do you envision the legacy of of Hubbard-Hall going forward? How do you want that to be continued?
legacy yet, because that would mean that I'm done. And I know things that I'm done, I feel like we're just getting started. We're in Hubbard-Hall, I don't know if we're 4.0 or 5.0. Pre-COVID, our sales were, gosh, I think we've grown almost 75% with a new group of people and new geographies. So I'm not ready to talk legacy, and I'm thinking about building and what's going to come next. What I think connects us through 1849 to 2024 and all the ups and downs between there's a common thread of entrepreneurship, and that could be in the corner office here where I am, but really we get to 175 years because of the people who've worked here. And I think about there's not any one big event that has shaped us or made us successful. It is 100 little things that people do over and over again, unseen, not me, but the people who've worked here over the years, the people who stayed late at night so the trucks can come in and get to a customer, the person in the R&D lab who is thinking, hey, I've got this idea, let me go figure it out. So it's really remarkable that we make it, and it's on the strength of our team and the contributions that they give.
Some companies as old as you all would just probably sit on their laurels of what they've done. But it seems like you all have even ramped up your research, your innovation, and those type of things by listening to customers, what they're telling you they need. I know you've made some acquisitions and you developed some of those products. So what are some newer initiatives or projects that you all are working on and you want to see your team work on even more?
You're right, Tim. We have invested in our technical team over the last 10 years, and I think we've got the strongest team we've ever had, and are always looking for the next great technical asset, because that's what our customers need. They need somebody who can help them tank side or be on the other end of a phone call and solve their problem. So that's how we add value to our customers. And what they're thinking about, what I'm thinking about, what are the initiatives, is this crazy idea that I have that we want to be the chemical company that helps our customers use less chemistry. And some people think that's a gimmick, but I'm serious about it. I recognize that manufacturers don't want to use chemistry. They don't want to use the products that we sell, but they have to. So how do we help them do that efficiently? How do we help them do that using less chemistry, less electricity, whatever their resources they're consuming? Because again, as a multi-generational business, we want to make sure that we have a sustainable business in the best sense of the word. So we think about some of the newer initiatives. We bought a small company about 5 years ago that has a membrane system that helps recycle cleaners. From a business point of view, when I was pitching this to the board, I said, hey, listen, we're going to buy this and it will cannibalize up to 30 to 50% of the cleaners that we sell. And it's why we do that. And to me, it's because it's the right thing to do. It helps us add value to customers very, very measurably. So in addition to our chemistry, in addition to our people and our expertise, I think how we're wrapping technology, that could be equipment, that could be something like the surface analyzer technology that we're looking at to measure cleanliness, to bring data to customers, to bring measurable results. So keep expanding our offering beyond just the chemistry so that we can help our customers be more efficient and frankly, use less of what we're selling.
I think that what you all do is teach companies, your customers, to use the chemistry more efficiently, like you said, more effectively. I know talking to a lot of shops, they often feel like they're using too much, but they don't know that, and they get problems in the wastewater and these other things, and they're always looking to fix that. So that's kind of an initiative I think that they agree with you on, is how can we use less chemistry, get the job done, get it done at a very high level, and that's a trick. And it's expertise to do that, type of thing.
I was just going to add to that, because I think what it also represents is you can see behind me over there, our behavior pyramids. Our founding behavior is let's be curious. And when we tell our technical team, when we tell our commercial team, our R&D team that we want to help people get better results with less chemistry, that makes them think. They're not just trying to solve the problem that comes at them, but what else is around there? How else can we address the issue? And you mentioned wastewater treatment. Often when we get called in, they're out of control. We're dumping tons of chemistry in that, but over time, we ratchet that back. We're curious, how do we fix that problem? And maybe it's at the end of the line, maybe it's the front of the line, but we keep asking those questions so that we can get to an answer that really, really does help the customer.
Sometimes just to take a step back and look, do a holistic look and see what is the issue, and not just, like you said, add chemicals to it. Doesn't always work that way. But, I wanted to ask you, give me a couple of reasons why you think Hubbard-Hall has existed as long as it has with that. Why do you believe the company exists as it does? And is that tied to your ultimate mission of what you're trying to do?
Why has it lasted as long as it does? I think because it's never been about one person and one ego. And if you read the Wall Street Journal, you're going to read about someone's exit strategy, the millions and billions that they made selling their companies. It's never been an interest in our family to do that. So we're constantly reinvesting and building the business. I think about one of the first lessons I learned about running a family business was that you run the business first. It's not about the family, it's about the business. So my grandfather, way back when, was mailing a letter and needed a stamp and didn't run it through the postage meter, but went to my father's office, piled up a dime and 2 pennies, and took the little stamp to mail his letter. So I think that ethos and the leadership is, it's not about us, it's about the companies that we're trying to build, the people that we need to take care of. And just one other story, Tim, and the first best leadership lesson I got was my first day as CEO. I worked at the company for 15 years. I was driving down to work here to this corner office. This really is a corner office, thinking, I'm CEO, got the corner office. I really, really need a good coffee maker. So that's what occupied my thought coming to my first day of work as CEO. And I turned the corner into the parking lot and saw all these cars and said, holy cow, it's not about me. It's not about my coffee maker. I'm responsible for those people and their families and their livelihoods and their safety. We're in the chemical business. So it was a 180 flip in the matter of about a second. And I think that that's been the spirit of my family's leadership. I think I look at the executive leadership, the senior leadership of that team. We are always operating, I want to say, thinking about the service of others. Why do we exist? I had to answer that question in an offsite a couple of years ago. And fundamentally, my heart of hearts, I believe we exist to expand possibilities. So how do we do that for our team here? How do we do that for our customers? How do we do that for our communities? Very important stakeholders, and keep doing that. So there's not a legacy, there's not an exit strategy. It's reinvest, reimagine, and rebuild all the time.
Your family's owned this company. So you take everything, I think, very personal, right? And chemical companies these days, you mentioned that, and people look at you like you're a polluter, right? That's the first thing, because there's so much in the news about that. But years ago, you kind of made it a very strong point that you wanted to be responsible. You wanted to push sustainability and teach your customers that, of how they can do it as well. So talk about that a bit, because you all have done that very much and pretty much all that you do, don't you?
Yeah, and that's an endless cycle. So we externally have talked about that, how we help our customers use less. Internally, you think about it, just sort of a lean mindset of continuous improvement and eliminating waste. So we may take little things like, how do we use less water in our manufacturing process? How do we generate less waste? How do we process orders or work with our customers in a way that's more efficient? Which leads me to, we talked about initiatives. We're making a lot of investments on the digital and technology front, because if I think about how we compete on expertise. So our technical people are the best in the business, and speed. I think speed's a real competitive advantage. So we're looking a lot at the tools that we can use, the technology that we can invest into, to make it so that if a customer called in or texted or emailed and got somebody working third shifts in South Carolina, that person could help answer the questions. We want answers at the fingertips of everybody.
Because it is 24 hours, right? You don't know, you've got people all over that are doing that. I mentioned earlier in our introduction, president, CEO, chair, there's no one else to blame except you, right? I mean, you're it with that. Sad to say. But what motivates you, as the leader of this company, and how do you try to inspire that with the rest of your team? And let me add one more question. What makes you really happy? when you're managing your team?
Oh, that's a lot of questions all at once. What motivates me really is the fact that we've got this incredible organization that has the capacity to do good. That sounds really simple, but we can help our customers. We can give back to our communities. We're doing something this year for our 175th. We give a lot of money anyway, but we're going to give away an extra $175,000 and $25,000 chunks to local organizations that help our communities thrive. So the ability to do that is exciting to me. The ability to hire great people and then help them grow and learn is really fun. It's not being at the top of the org chart is not without its challenges, but when I see people growing and being successful, when I see our initiatives through a lot of work having an impact, I'm just really proud. And it gets me out of bed every day to think, what can we do? How can we be better all the time? So again, the top of the pyramid, pointing the wrong way over there, the top one is better. And I think that speaks to continuous improvement. It speaks to this entrepreneurship that has defined Hubbard-Hall over 175 years and a drive to never, ever settle. But we're here. Okay, now let's figure out how to get there.
What makes you really happy, really beam sometimes when you see, not what you're doing, but when you see what others are doing? What kind of traits do you see others in your business, Hubbard-Hall, doing that really makes you happy? What is it? Can you give me an example of one of those? Or
Yeah, sure. I think it's when I see resilience and when I see learning. I'll give you an example. We have a woman who works for us. She runs our lab now, and she came to us as an intern out of UConn. She's a chemical engineer. She had this idea about how to use our wastewater treatment and give back to Like Straw, which is a nonprofit. And she came to me with the idea, and I said, I don't know. It just seemed like it was going to cost a lot. It was complicated. So I said no. Most people would take their ball and go home, and that would be it. She came back 6 months later with a new idea, a better program, and we've done it. So I love seeing, we all go through these challenges. And so I'd like seeing how she rethought it, how she grew, how she was resilient, and now found something to really give back. So it's the success of the team members here that makes me really happy more than anything else. So yes, I look at the balance sheet every month, but I'm talking to people all the time, and their growth is so important to me. That's a happy day for me.
When you're sitting in the top chair there, sometimes what you have to go through, I know, such as COVID, things like that, you don't learn in a textbook in college. You don't learn some of that leadership.
Yeah, but think about what was hard. In some ways, COVID was easy because what COVID did was really narrow the focus. There was one thing to concentrate on. It was keep everybody safe, make sure nobody dies on my watch, and let's get through it. So that was not without stress, but it was very clear what I needed to do then. The difficult times in leadership are when there's not necessarily a known answer. We can all solve the math problems, but we call it wicked problems. How do you make this happen? Quite frankly, the biggest challenge I've ever faced in this role was we had a strike about 3 years ago. It was post-COVID. It was about a week here, and it was horrible for everybody. Everybody who was on the picket line, everybody who was trying to get products to our customers, and it took us a long time to heal. So, yeah, we had to make a lot of decisions. Both sides did, and what was the leadership lesson? That at the end of the day, people can solve the problem. So we were at odds, and I had two folks come in. They met at my table. There were no lawyers. There were no negotiators. We talked about what was really at stake, what was really bothering us. Could we get a way forward? And because of the trust that the three of us had in each other, we were able to get through it. But that was really, really tough time. Learned a lot. And if you think about trust as a foundational necessity for any company or any relationship, that can't be understated.
And it has to be built over time. And that's the big emphasis with that. Day in and day out, they have to feel that way.
Sort of like cash in the bank, right? But it's so important. No.
That's very much so. Well, I think the finishing industry really appreciates all that you all do, developing products, innovating. That has, I know from my 15 years of covering the industry, that you all have I've talked to many people that are your end users where you all have really solved a very perplexed problem for them that they couldn't get solved anywhere else. And one of the things I often hear is that the people from Hubbard-Hall are very nice to deal with, very nice and honest to deal with, which is a feather in the cap, right? I mean, that's what you can ask for out of your team, right? To do it that way.
Yeah, and I think that integrity, if we think about foundational beliefs and how we operate, it's with high integrity. We will never cheat. We will never lie. I remember having to call a customer and say, hey, listen, we made a $300,000 mistake. They never would have known it, but I found it. Went to my father at the time and said, oh, what do we do? And he said, if you have to ask, you know what to do, you give it back to them. So definitely high integrity. And I hope when people think about Hubbard-Hall, they think of us with that. They think of us as a progressive company and willing to try new things, be innovative, and be. I was trying to avoid using the word partner because I feel like that's overused, but that's how I want our customers and our communities to see us.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out and talking with us and giving that insight. It's been very helpful, very informative. So again, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Tim, and thanks for all you give back to the industry. You've been in it not as long, well, maybe as long as I have, and you give a lot as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit hubbardhall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.